Welcome to She Made That, a series that celebrates creative women. I'm your host, Daniela, and every month I sit down with women to hear their stories, what they create, and why.
She made that. She made that. You're so creative. She made that.
Hi, Sarai. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of She Made That. Before we dive in, I always like to ask my guests to introduce themselves. So if you can just give yourself a little introduction as well as what you create.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so glad to be here. Absolutely. I would love to share that. So, you know how when creators pour their blood, sweat, and tears into their creations, but then nobody sees it or nobody values it the way that they think it should be valued? Well, that's kind of my superpower. I help connect creatives to the right audience and build lasting connections around their creations. It's a big world out there, and I believe that creatives can connect with their right audiences, build legacies around what they create.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. I'm curious to know what the reason is behind your idea. Were you at one point stuck as well, or did you just see like a need in other people?
Yeah, I was working in the film industry right outside of film school. And during that time, I learned a lot about being a creative because I was already a creative. And then I made a pivot in my life. I moved to South Korea. I taught kids English. And through that experience, I realized that being a creative can be in anything. It doesn't have to be in the film industry alone or in writing books or in these different areas or avenues that people necessarily equate to being creative, right? You can be creative in just about anything. And there are people who are creative and they can be creative in finance, they could be creative in business. And so it really extended my idea about creativity. And I still had a lot of my connections in the film industry and all of the people that I've networked with throughout the years. And the other thing that I was noticing was that they would create these beautiful things and share them, but they wouldn't know how to connect with their audience. They wouldn't know how to find their audience. And then a lot of these wonderful creations would just die right after, which is so sad, but it was very true. And so I felt so convicted by this kind of notion that I kept seeing all over the place where creatives were building beautiful creations but couldn't connect with their audiences and get them out to the right people. And so I said, I want to fill that gap in some way. I want to help them. And so I went and learned all I could about marketing and all I could about social media content and researching and how to figure out how to do this for creatives. And that is kind of how my company started. I'm a creative myself and I love being creative and I love building things. And I also love talking with creatives and helping them break through the marketing struggle and connect with their audiences.
Yeah, it must feel rewarding to see a great idea move from lost exposure to consistency, right? Like, I personally find that what you're doing is essential because business owners always need tools to succeed. Now speaking of tools, is your offer a software or do you suggest a more organic way of gaining an audience?
Yes, exactly. And, there are so many tools out there. I personally use ClickFunnels, which is a funnel building software, and it's come a long way in recent years, but I did get certified in it. And so there's like my bias on that occasion. But in terms of other tools and softwares, I really work with my clients. I don't have a particular software that's mine, but my offer is to sit down with clients and approach from an organic POV on how they can reach their audience, utilizing what they've got and maybe even incorporating some really great tools that I've seen, whether they're paid or free, and really finding out what works best for the niche that my client is in, and what they're trying to accomplish and what their goals are.
I find it awesome how you tailor your offer according to what your client's needs are. Now, I'm assuming you offer your services virtually and from anywhere. Is that correct?
Yes, all of my services are offered digitally, and I'm able to work with any clients from various locations. I recently had a client I worked with who lives in Tanzania. So it's really great to be flexible and able to work with all types of clients and meet them with their needs.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I always find it beneficial when people do offer their services worldwide. Now, for those listening in to today's episode, can you provide where people can find you? Do you have like a Facebook page or website?
Yeah, sure. If anyone is interested in my services, they can always check out my website, which is creativecommissionmarketing.com. And you can follow me on Instagram at I'm the Funnel Girl. I'm doing a lot of fun stuff over there. I just started that account, so it's really exciting. I have a lot of funny things about funnels planned. So if you're interested in like some funnel edutainment, that would probably be the best place to follow me.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for joining me on another creative discussion. You're a great reminder that creativity comes in different forms. So thank you so much for reminding me of that. Keep doing what you're doing and take care.
She made that. She made that. You're so creative. She made that.